Today I want to take some time and kind of regroup a little bit and talk about what National Spine Management is, what you guys have access to, and what type of future we're paving. So when we look at National Spine Management, right, we're looking at two main pathways of benefit. The first benefit is clinical, and the second is administrative and business. Okay, so I think the key thing to understand here and looking at what this is really kind of a collective in terms of mindset, in terms of people, in terms of what we're doing. This isn't about any one person. Okay, you guys all know that it's been my belief and feeling that chiropractic has been represented by that type of hierarchy for too long. One person that has these ideas, this experience, and that's how we're going to change everything. And I certainly don't see that in any other industry, right? So the idea is that this is really a collective of minds. Now, in terms of the clinical, we have a couple important things: diagnosis, spine management physician oriented approach, right? Clinical grand rounds, research, spine management reports. And it's really focused on the MD and the lawyer, and in particular, pulling personal injury cases out of those clinics, okay? This is a very, very important aspect of what we're doing, because that's where we're building proficiency, okay? And what we really are as a group is a B2B marketing collective, business to business. We are taking the chiropractic office and we are marketing and correlating everything that we do to other businesses, in this case, medical offices, lawyers' offices, with the future becoming a B2C experience, business to customer. Okay, and we're going to be talking about that in Utah and how that's transpiring. I'm currently working with the Elite Group right now to hone this B2B type of outreach that's going to be automated for you guys. And I'll have a lot more to talk about in Utah for the rest of the group and what that will look like. Okay, we do these things through the clinical grand rounds, the weekly webinars, all of those things that support the doctoring side of the practice. Now, the other aspect to this, which is important to understand, is sort of the mini MBA aspect, or what I would call it, a street level MBA. And that's everything from understanding profit loss statements, referral patterns, how to build relationships, staffing, compliance, all of the things that help us to run the business from a primary perspective, right? The administrative things that allow us to produce the clinical aspect, the output. NSMG provides that support service, and I'm going to show you a little bit more in detail how we do that. Now, the secondary aspect of the administrative business has to do more with the life cycle of both you and your business. And we've talked about this in the past, that businesses are just bundles of problems and solutions. It doesn't matter what business you're in. It doesn't matter if it's chiropractic, if you're a lawn cutting service, if you're a dry cleaner, you're a brewery, whatever, it doesn't matter. And those problems and solutions, that cycle, never goes away, it just changes. Okay, so when you're looking at the life cycle of a chiropractic practice, there's a life cycle to the clinical and the administrative side when you're making $250,000 a year. There's a problem solution cycle to the clinical and the administrative life cycle when you're at 550 to 750, 750 to 900, 900 to 1.5 million, right? And, and this life cycle is pertaining to two things: you and the practice, right? You, your family, in terms of savings, investment vehicles, life insurance, disability insurance, home equity, mortgages, loans, debts, assets, all of that. That all changes as you go through the process, right? And the clinical side is you becoming proficient and then creating a space for somebody else under you to become proficient so that you can admin and grow and change your life cycle into more of a manager and a marketer. So all these processes, that is what we talked about. And National Spine Management Group is a collective of people, doctors, that are somewhere in the middle of all of these clinical and administrative business life cycles. Okay, so we're out there supporting our patients, documenting, getting reimbursed, investing, buying a building, selling a building, doing narrative reports, investing, moving from term life insurance to whole life insurance, all these different things. Okay, the research and development tax credits play a big role in this administrative business side. It's about keeping your money and investing in the future, right? So National Spine Management on the surface seems like a marketing system to MDs and lawyers. In fact, it started out as a system to just market to medical doctors for PI cases. But now it's much more than that. Now, from the collective aspect, what we really want to get a handle on is understanding that nobody can do it by themselves. So in order for National Spine Management Group to excel and to provide these life cycle supportive tools, right, there's going to be a series of partners that we invite in that have the expertise and the focus, right? Because once you get to a certain life cycle, right, you can be a do-it-yourself investor until you get to a certain point where, hey, listen, I really need somebody that just does this one thing to look at my stuff, right? Because now I'm sort of getting into the point where maybe my solution when I was making $250,000 a year in my clinic, maybe that solution and maybe those people and maybe that process is not the same one that's going to keep me at 900,000. One of my friends is an industrial psychologist, and that's what he spends. And I never knew what an industrial psychologist was. But that's one of the main things that they do is they understand the psychology of the collective as it moves through a business, and do the people in the system provide the level of expertise, energy, drive, and focus that a company needs to go from 1 million to 5 million, from 500,000 to a million, right? And the answer typically is most businesses don't, right? You can't necessarily have the same people. You can, but it's kind of rare. So this is what National Spine Management brings as a whole. Let's take a look at what NSMG is doing in terms of partnerships. And we're going to talk more about this in Utah. So please make sure that you get registered. And I do want to drop this in here real quick also, as I've been traveling kind of extensively this spring. And I will tell you that for some reason, and this may not be the same as it, moving into fall as it's been in the spring, or late summer into August, but I found the best airfare was about, from a pricing perspective, was about 2.5 weeks out. And I'm not necessarily counseling you on getting your tickets late, but when I was in different parts of the country, when I looked a month, 6 weeks, 8 weeks out, they were off the charts. But right around that 2.5 week mark is when they seem to normalize. So just when you're looking for tickets, keep that in mind, okay? And just be on there regularly and watch it. So let's just look at the categories of the partnerships. The first group in the partnership side is compliance, and I'm going to tell you who that is in a second. Okay. Then we have hospital growth. Then we have billing. Then we have documentation of bodily injury. We have durable medical equipment. We have IT. We have finance. And then we have tax. Okay, so on top of that last slide that I just shared with you, we have all of these different areas where we actually have strategic partnerships that I've been building over the last 4 months. Okay, I haven't really talked too much about it because I just really wanted to vet these people and make sure some of these were sponsors that you've seen at seminars. But the fact is that these entities are standalone separate companies that are separate from NSMG, but have the ability to counsel us during those life cycle phases and certainly during the life cycle changes. Okay, so in terms of what we're looking at, in terms of hospital growth, and this would really include the fellowship growth, taking new graduates and placing them into large systems. Some of you are involved in this. Most of you aren't right now because you're not there yet. But that's where our strategic partnership with Vista Spine Management out of Utah with Dr. Lee and Dr. Edwards and those guys out there is going to be an important and integral part of hospital growth, okay? For nowadays, for anybody out there in the chiropractic world to say, I'm a chiropractor and I have this figured out, follow me, I do this and I do that with hospitals, that's a load of dog dirt, right? Those systems are giant. They're worth trillions of dollars, and no chiropractor is going to walk in there by themselves and say, listen to me, I'm going to triage patients for you, and they're going to fall over backwards. Okay, you need a team of people that hit all aspects of what the hospital system is about, right? That's healthcare finance, that's imaging, that's interventional radiology, it's neurosurgery, it's billing and collections. It's a microcosm of what we're doing with National Spine Management Group, but at the top of Mount Everest as opposed in the valley, okay? Compliance. We have Chiro Armor, and we also have the education side on compliance, and Larry Stoller is out of Parker. He was the Dean of Clinics. We met him when we were down there. He's going to be speaking at Utah, and he is actually a DC that trains the special investigation units for the FBI on healthcare fraud. One of the most interesting things he said, and this is one of the many reasons he's going to be speaking, and I didn't know this, but one of the most common red flags that a carrier has in their possession when they're examining referral networks, so chiro to pain management, chiro to surgery in particular, is does the diagnosis flow from chiropractor to pain, pain to surgery? So let's just say I'm working on a patient that was hurt in a personal injury crash for 12 weeks. And all I have is segmental dysfunction, muscle spasm, sprain, strain in there. And 12, 14 weeks later, they find themselves to the pain management doctor who is all of a sudden diagnosing radiculopathy and doing injections. Boop, major, major red flag. Okay, so he's going to be talking about how our documentation from the beginning all the way through our referral source as spine management physicians has to correlate with downstream interventions. Okay, otherwise it gets flagged. That doesn't mean you're doing something wrong, but it's going to create unnecessary oversight, and it's a really, really big deal. ChiroArmor is bringing a level of compliance. I'm working with them in both the Chiro, the PT office, and DocuSpine, and they do everything depending on their your level of interest with them. They're my HIPAA compliance officer right now, right? And as your practice builds, you have to really start to consider what you're doing from an HR manual, compliance with HIPAA, OSHA, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so ChiroArmor is a division of Chiro Health USA. So in terms of billing and dual fee schedules, we have those folks there that can help us to understand what's needed and what's not. Now, keep in mind, during the growth cycle, and I'm looking at your names on here, and I know how diverse we are in terms of size of practice and generation of revenue. All of these things at some point in the life cycle of a practice that's growing properly, and there's no reason in today's day and age, if you're doing things right, that you can't break $1 million a year in collections in a legitimately organized, compliant, and ethical Chiro only practice, right? This isn't about medical integration. It's not about all that nonsense that's gotten people into trouble over the years, okay? There's no reason why you can't support that with Chiro only. Now, every single one of these partners has a role in that life cycle. At the beginning, you might not need most of these because you can do it yourself, and that's how any practice is or any business. But as we grow, it's important, okay? JTech is a big part of the bodily injury side, range of motion, documenting the response to the injury. DME, okay, we have RS Medical. And for those of you that were in Florida, you know RS Medical is has a big connection with VA. A lot of our ability to bring spine management physicians and members of the NSMG group into the VA is being led by RS Medical, right? And we have as a new partner on the durable medical implant side, which is actually, this is spelled wrong, I always spell it wrong, is surgical implant company Sentinel Spine. Their main implant instructor will be speaking on Fellowship Friday in Utah. He's going to bring virtually every implant that there is on the market. You'll be able to look at it. We're going to talk extensively about when you can adjust, when you shouldn't. And believe it or not, this guy, I met him, Joshua, is Chiro. He's a trained chiropractor. So their entire platform is based on the concept of motion preservation, okay, which is different than a fusion, right? So the motion preservation concept fits very, very well into the chiropractic space, okay? IT, there's a new company coming on that I'll reveal in August. I'm meeting with them tomorrow. And this is everything from computer networking to switches to modems to, I mean, you guys know that there's a certain level of modem that's HIPAA compliant and others that are not, right? Your internet speed, your security, all of these things are critically important in this day and age because of where your vulnerability is. Now, a lot of systems are moving to the cloud. We have uber security on our networking, and all of our machines and everything right now, we're cloud-based for our office.com, Office 365. So we handle all of our shared files, all of our intranet, which is our SharePoint site. All of our phones are voice over IP. We use Weave. So all of our text messaging and our forms and all of that stuff is cloud-based, as is our EHR. All of that is based around a compliant and a HIPAA-protected network connection and internet connection. And that's what Mike and his group are about. And we're going to have a discussion about when you need that, when you don't need that. The biggest initial starting component to be concerned about is outdated tech, right? It's not always ideal to keep buying new computers, but unless your software is updated, that's where people get hacked. Okay, it's old, outdated software without security measures, right? In terms of tax, we have Acquire Tax. These are the people that are doing the research and development tax credits, which I'm working with some of you on. And there's a certain level of income where the research and development tax credits make sense. There's levels below that which they don't yet. And then there's a way of how you draw your income out of a group that they have some very, very interesting additional vehicles that weren't necessarily initially looked at in healthcare. They were used more in construction and farming, believe it or not. But there are ways to pay for transition. There are ways to help young doctors reinvest their profit that they pull from their share in a practice into helping to leverage a buyout, all sorts of really good stuff. But again, it doesn't matter unless you're at a certain income level. And then we also have finance, which I will be revealing that. I've been working with an independent financial broker for about 4 years now. And basically, he just gets paid a flat fee per year to shop whatever product we need for whatever stage in our life we're in, right? He's not tied to any organization. He doesn't provide free financial service and get commissions on the back end. He just gets paid up front for his recommendations, and he can shop anywhere. Think of it like an insurance broker, right, who can pull, New York Central Mutual or State Farm for your auto insurance, as opposed to an agent which just works for State Farm and has a vested interest in State Farm, right? Those recommendations are going to be very, very different. And those financial people are going to be able to work with you over the growth. So once you're at about $500,000 a year, maybe 750, you start to look at Ray and his group as, hey, listen, can you look at my stuff? I just want to make sure that my will is in shape. My life insurance is where it should be for right now. How am I planning on the finance for both of these, right? Because what you have is you have your CPA, and then you have your financial advisor and your tax planner communicating with your CPA to make sure that you're in the right space or in the right pool, okay? So this is what National Spine Management Group has turned into, right? It's a full service consulting company that all of us at different stages can grab hold of. These partners are what's overlying the clinical and the marketing education that we need, along with the administrative processes that generate revenue. Once we have the revenue, now we're looking at these partners to help us to figure out what to do with it. Okay, so as you're going through this, and we have phone calls, it's been a habit of everybody's, including mine, to say, hey, I got a case that I need help with. That's important. But remember, that's just one part of it. Us having discussions about staffing and hiring and firing and interviewing and looking at what the R&D tax credits could do for you. Is your IT good? What's your budget? How do we structure that? How do we grow it, right? Right now, Sentinel Spine is helping us to take our fellowship candidates and our fellowship trained doctors and connect them with their surgeons. RS Medical is helping us to get into the VA. Okay, JTech is helping us to document level of pain with algometry and range of motion. Chiro Health is making sure that when we have dual fee schedules that we're doing it properly. Chiro Armor is making sure that all of our HIPAA and our OSHA stuff is all up to date. Larry Stoller is going to make sure that we understand from a documentation perspective how that flow helps or hurts a surgeon downstream based on what we're putting in our reports. Okay, he's going to give you a behind the scenes look at what they look at from a special investigations unit and what's really out there and why they look at Chiro. Okay, we had barbecue dinner or lunch with him, and it was the best 3 hours and most interesting 3 hours I've ever spent with anybody. Okay, Vista Spine is going to help us take these fellows, this fellowship program, turn you guys into attendings and help us to train the new generation within very large hospital systems. Those will be paying positions for you guys as attendings, right? So growing your practice is part of your training program, right? And then Acquire Tax is going to allow you to take this entire program of interprofessional communication and spine management, put it into your practice, document that you're doing that, and get federal and state tax credits for it, right? My tax credit was just this past run, this is the first time I did it, was $86,000 as a credit that's coming back to me in the form of a check. Okay, there's other offices that are bigger than me, and there's offices that are smaller. You know, it just is what it is. It depends how you take your income and what you're doing with it. Okay, so there's lots of benefits, and I can help talk this through with all of you. So I wanted to keep this to 30 minutes today, and there's a lot more coming down right now. As I said, with the elites, I'm working on marketing for them, right? So marketing to lawyers, to MDs, the B2B market. This is all going to be automated for you in the next year through National Spine Management Group, content-driven B2B marketing that we'll essentially do for you so you can be a clinician, okay? All right, you guys have a great day. Register for Utah. Looking forward to seeing everybody there. There's a great lineup of speakers, and if you need anything, just let me know, but I'll be around, okay? Thanks, guys.